So today we have human rights, inclusivity and environmental issues. Very interesting topic, learners. So in the examination you would be expected to explain human rights, inclusivity and environmental issues. What are human rights? Who does it apply to? Perhaps you should also be giving a definition of human rights. So if we look at my definition that I have in front of me, would be that human rights refers to the basic human rights that every person is entitled to simply because they are human beings. And so we don't get to select who gets human rights based on the position that they have in a company or the power that they have in a company. Examples of human rights is the right to be treated fairly and equally. We could also just coin it as being equality, but we do know that in the examination you are going to always be requested or be required to write in a full sentence unless stipulated otherwise. So we know that we have the right to be treated fairly and the right to be treated equally. The right to be treated in a dignified manner. This could also be seen as in a respectful manner. You treat others the way you would like to be treated. Another example of a human right would be the right to fair treatment in the workplace. This with particular reference to labor relations. So we want to be treated fairly in the workplace. And a little bit later on we're going to elaborate exactly what is fair treatment in the workplace and how would one coin fairness in the workplace. Other examples of human rights could be things like the right to freedom of speech, and we know that we share and we say what we need to say and always in a respectful and a considerate manner. The right to vote. Imagine a world where we were not allowed to vote. Imagine that. The right to practice your own religion, and that is exactly what we have in South Africa. Our basic human rights. The right to practice your religion, the right to vote, and the right to freedom of speech. And so we know that when it comes to religion, we have our Muslims, such as myself with my headscarf. I'm allowed to wear my headscarf. We have other religions where people may practice, whether you are isiXhosa and you need to go through your rituals and your rites, example, and we are all allowed to practice our religions in this beautiful country. The next explanation that you would be expected to give would be one on inclusivity. What do you understand by inclusivity? What is inclusivity? We know that the first part of the word should actually give it away. Inclusive. Inclusive of whom? Inclusive of what? And how do we make sure that everything is inclusive? I would say that we begin by policies in companies. So we say the fact or policy of not excluding members or participants on the grounds of gender, race, class, sexuality or disability. So we do not exclude anyone. So you do not get employment based on the fact that you are female or the fact that you are male. You do not get employment based on the color of your skin or your class or your sexuality or your disability. And that is inclusivity. There is no discrimination practice and everyone must have an equal chance in the workplace. Everyone must have an equal chance in the workplace for whatever it is, and that is inclusivity. That is being inclusive, including everyone. And examples of not being inclusive would be coined as discrimination. How do we discriminate against people? The example I have here is on gender. Only men may apply for the job. Do you think that is discrimination? Is that an example of being inclusive, or is that discrimination? It's absolutely discrimination. So can it ever be stipulated that only a man may apply, or men may apply, only women may apply? Race. Only blacks may apply for a job at the mini-mart. Unacceptable. That's also discrimination. Disability. People in wheelchairs may not apply for the job. Is that discrimination? It's not being inclusive, that I may say. So if we're being inclusive, we are being inclusive of people of gender, we are being inclusive of people of the races, irrespective of the color or creed, and we are also being inclusive of whether you have a disability or not, whether you're in a wheelchair or not. You may also apply and be given a fair chance. And that is our examples of discrimination. So now, our explanation of environmental issues. So if you were to be expected to explain what is an environmental issue, what do you think of first? What is your first thoughts of? You're thinking of the environment. How does the environment, what do I write on the environment? What is an environmental issue? So businesses, firstly, they have a responsibility to protect the environment. The resources of the environment must be used with care and consideration. Businesses must consider the impact of their actions on the environment. So what are we talking about? Environmental issues and a business. It means that businesses need to minimize or avoid, if they can at all, pollution. We're going to minimize whatever bad impact or influence, whatever it is that we are doing on the environment. We need to minimize, reduce, or make away with. Examples of environmental issues. Now this one, you would be shouting out loud if you could from the other side. It would be global warming. And this is what we are facing currently in our country, worldwide. The renewal of energy. Can you think of ways how we have used renewable energy in South Africa? Can you think of ways? Recycling. Do you recycle? What do we recycle? What should businesses recycle? I could think of a few examples. Paper. Businesses could recycle glass, plastics, etc. And those are also examples of environmental issues and also ways of how we can assist in living a cleaner and healthier way. Another example of environmental issue could be conservation. Climate change. Those are just but to name a few. So learners, we know that the examples of environmental issues you will also be required to know about for the examination, and you will also be able to define human rights, define inclusivity, and define an environmental issue and provide examples of all. Thank you. Cheerio.